Hey, welcome in to Red and Blue Smoke. Second episode. New podcast here on Talk of Champions. I'm your host, Zach Berry. Joining me, Mr. Greg Jones of LB's Meat Market. We had our inaugural episode a couple weeks ago, and now it is week one. So we are here. Greg, good morning. Welcome in.
Good morning. Everything's ready to go. Ready for this football weekend to start.
I know you were talking about how you're just getting ready for the weekend, and we were talking about how this week has been dragging on. Have you started to see some people file in town? I know it's Mercer. It's not an SEC weekend, but have you seen some RVs or some non-locals coming in yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's granted, like you said, it's Mercer, but yeah, it's the first game, and there's some people filing in, and pretty sure it'll get a lot thicker probably Thursday.
All right. Before we get cranked up here, I always want to remind you, go see Greg and the folks at LB's Meat Market. Same spot they've always been. 2008 University Avenue across the street from Kroger. Go in there, pop in, say what's up to Greg and the folks. Get you, get you a couple steaks for the weekend. Maybe dip into that freezer. Get you some bargains in there. He's got the full selection. You can see it in the glass when you walk in. From prime strip, sausage. You've got Greg. I literally have you on the show. I should just shut up and let you tell the folks what you've got because you've got that evolving and revolving menu that is just constantly jam packed with good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to make some sausage this weekend, and everything in the freezer is $2 off, so you got to take advantage of that. We've got plenty of Joyce Farms chicken breasts, plenty of burgers, plenty of steaks, plenty of ground beef. And seafood is in there. All our seafood comes in fresh. We vacuum seal it and then freeze it after the third day. That way, it's always fresh when you thaw it out. Just cold water, and it'll thaw out in probably 30 minutes, give or take. But yeah, got to take advantage of those $2 off on the freezers for sure.
All right, let's get into the show here. You and I were brainstorming all summer. We were trying to come up with some kind of idea for what we wanted to do this fall, and hopefully leading into to basketball as well, because I'm pretty fired up about basketball. Let's talk grilling. I know this after this weekend, Labor Day, big. That's like in my opinion, one of the like grilling holidays in America, where people find any and every excuse to get outside, fire up the grill, toss back a couple cold beers, and just enjoy some fellowship with some folks and some good food. I told you on Sunday, I got the grill back out for the first time in maybe a month. Because look, if I'm being honest, it's too damn hot to be grilling. You do it every single day, but you're at least indoors. Being outside and standing next to something that's 350, 400 degrees, not ideal, Greg.
It's almost like hanging out in the water and getting a beer and getting a cold beer and it's hot 5 minutes later. So I totally feel that.
I've recently discovered the benefits of utilizing the sauna for recovery after a workout. Basically, grilling in the South in like July and August is like being in a sauna and drinking a cup of coffee. Like it's just not fun. But with the benefit of shade from the garage and drinking cold beer to offset it, had some nice chicken kebabs on Sunday. They were pretty tasty. And I'll give credit where credit's due. No free ads on this show, Greg, but shout out to Costco. We did our trip to Costco. We do them about every quarter to stock up on all the snacks for the kids and, get some meat. And I was like, hey, let's try these chicken kebabs. They look pretty good. They were solid. The kids loved them. But for you, Labor Day or just, opening weekend of college football, big, national holiday, if you will, for people around the South and in the country, what is your easy go-to, like if you're hosting anywhere from like 6 to 10 people for a little get together, what's like your go-to like low low stress, easy thing to do on the grill?
Yeah, I think wings and burgers are real easy to do. I mean, a rack of ribs is really easy because all you got to do is just kind of marinate it and low and slow it. There's a lot of options. Those kebabs are a good option because you can sit it down on the table and a person can take half a kebab and be filled up pretty good. Yeah, I mean sausages. I mean, for me, I mean everybody wants me to do the duck poppers, so I
Oh
would
yeah.
think duck poppers would be pretty clutch. Man, the lane trains also. You can cut up those small little lane trains and make kebabs with the lane trains. So, but yeah, pork tenderloin is also a good thing. Tri-tip, just something that you can grill, put on a cutting board, slice, and let people take whatever they need.
You mentioned ribs. I do want to ask because most of the other things that you mentioned are all pretty standard, give or take, steak, chicken. Chicken's one of the easiest because it doesn't take very long. But those are, typically 3 to 5 minutes on each side, and then you rotate it. I'm a medium rare type guy when it comes to steak, so that doesn't take very long if you get the grill hot enough. But for ribs, what's kind of your by the book, timeline for ribs? If people
I
are trying to
always
map
like,
out their day.
yeah, I mean, I always like to smoke them for about 2 hours on as low as heat as possible to where you can get some good solid smoke ring on it. And then after that 2 hours, I like to wrap them up in tinfoil or the paper and kind of sauce them and let them sit there. And then whenever somebody wants a rib, just pull it off. So yeah, just the low and slow for 2 hours, and then wrap them up. And then whenever somebody wants a rib, sauce them up and serve.
I know that that's something that I've heard about, ever since, I mean, basically since our friendship began, and I would basically just text you 12, 15 times when I was cooking steaks or something, and I would ask you all the questions. People know about, you take the steak off, you let it rest. In terms of ribs, and things like that. You mentioned like wrapping it, just kind of sitting it there. Is that the same idea? Or is it just like you said, just leave it there, wrap it so it stays warm and people can just come and grab it and go?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to continue to cook in there wrapped in that tinfoil. But I mean, my thing is I like to pull the bone out, whenever
Yeah.
you can pull the bone out, that's when you're ready to eat those ribs. So for me, I just like to smoke them for 2 hours, and then you can eat them, but they're kind of a little bit on the chewy side. But if
Right.
you just give yourself a little time frame and let it rest on there and sauce them up and give them another hour, man, they'll be, real nice and tender, and that bone will come out and it'll just basically, almost pulled pork in a way.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I was going to ask you, are you a dry or wet rib guy? Do you have a
Yeah,
preference?
I'm a wet rib. I love the sauce. I'm a sauce guy.
Okay. Me too. Me too.
I mean,
Which,
it's
which
not
might
it's
be,
if you're not eating a rib and you don't have, well, I have a beard, so if you don't have sauce all over your face, really I really don't feel like you're really getting much activity from that rib.
right. It might be a little blasphemous for me to say that, being from Memphis, because they're known for the dry. But yeah, I like the sauce. I like to get a little messy. I feel like that's when you like earn it. Like you said, if you don't got a little sauce on, on your nose, on your cheek, you're looking for some wet naps after 2 or 3. That's kind of I prefer that experience.
Yeah, if you're not washing your hands after eating two ribs, then I don't feel like you got the true experience.
You mentioned wings at the top. I'm assuming that we were talking bone in.
Yeah,
Also,
big
follow up
bone in
to
guy.
that.
I'm a flat guy. I'm a
Okay,
flat
there you
guy,
go.
so big flat guy over here.
I I'm the same way. Like I love that there are places now where they will offer you the choice. Do you want all flats or all drums? I think that
For
that's
a $2 upcharge.
well, yeah, yeah. It's worth it. Little $2 bill action, but yeah, I prefer the flats. I just feel like it's just easier to eat.
Yeah, I mean, you can just grab those two bones and just pull them out. Yeah, I'm a big flat guy. I mean, the drummies are okay, but yeah, I prefer those flats.
We had some we actually had some decent wings in high school at the cafeteria. And I would typically junior senior year I ate with all the linemen, and I would basically eat everything that they didn't eat because I was trying to put on some pounds there, Greg. I was trying to beef up so I wouldn't get killed on the football field. But one of my good buddies, and I think he's a listener. He appreciated it. Shout out to my boy Adam Hope. Watching him eat flats was just pure science and theater because he could perfectly hold the flat with I guess the 3 or 4 finger grip and hold those bones, and he could just fully pull everything off in one swoop. It was amazing to watch.
That's also a sign of a really good, well cooked wing. Also, so
yes, that is correct. If it falls off that bone. There.
My mom's a big. She likes to eat all the meat off the bones. So she literally is she likes the dromies and literally just eats cleans the bones. It's kind of awkward, but yeah, it's just like, Mom, all the meat's gone. But she's like, but there's some still good meat on this bone though.
Yeah, I think there's if it's cooked well and it's seasoned and sauced well, the drummy with some of that little cartilage where it's kind of chewy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I kind of like that.
That's what she goes for. That's what she's after.
You get in those nooks and crannies, and it's it's a little char on it, like a little bark. That stuff's good.
What kind of sauces? What kind of wing sauces are you a fan of?
So if I'm at a place, because I've done wings before. I typically go traditional buffalo, and then I will typically lean the Thai chili.
Yeah, I'm a big Thai chili guy.
Yeah, basically your standard buffalo barbecue, some kind of heat. I'm not big on lemon pepper, which is odd because my wife makes a really good lemon pepper chicken. But I don't know. For some reason, lemon pepper on wings is not my thing. I guess it might just be it's more of a dusting than a sauce. And
yeah,
to me, the best part of eating wings is taking the roll and the fries and just cleaning up all the sauce that's on the plate or in the to-go box. I think that's part of the experience.
I like the garlic parmesan and stuff, like those
kind
of odds and ends. I'm a big, you just take some homemade ranch and put some sriracha in it, make a little sriracha ranch flavor. That's really awesome too.
Yeah, I when you're eating wings, do you go with the dipping sauce? And if you do, what are you rocking?
I like blue cheese, but it's got to have the chunks in it. I kind of like the chunks of blue cheese.
Correct.
If it's a ranch, plain ranch is okay, but I kind of like to put that sriracha in it to make it, give some flavor. But it depends on what your mood is. But I kind of like the kind of a spicy buffalo sauce and blue cheese.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like that. But if I'm doing something like I don't know. I like that. Have you ever heard of Carolina Gold? It's kind of like a mustard.
Yeah.
Mustard. I like that mustard sauce. I think that's really good. And you can just do straight up ranch with that.
Yes. I love a good gold sauce, like a honey gold or like a hot, that's big here in Nashville for pizza. People do the hot honey sauce on pizza. Yeah, I love a honey gold. There is a place here in Nashville, and I'm going completely blank on the name. But it's a local chain that I'll think of it here in a minute, but their honey gold is amazing. But yeah, I agree with you on the blue cheese. I love blue cheese. That is my go-to. Now, if I'm going to be...
It's just got to have those chunks in it. It's got to have those chunks.
I agree.
Just plain liquid blue cheese. No, I'm out. For some strange reason, those little chunks in there, goes real well with that buffalo sauce.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. I'm big on the chunks, but I will say, if you are going to do ranch, if I can be particular and be a bit of a hipster, if you make your own ranch, I will give it a go. I respect the hustle of making your own ranch.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a good homemade salad dressing. My mom used to make a homemade Thousand Island with pickles and eggs, and oh, it was so good. And same thing with the ranch, but not a lot of people like buttermilk. Not a
Yeah, I
lot
don't
of people
know. You don't see a lot
keep
of
buttermilk
buttermilk
in there.
ranch anymore.
Well, that's the key to a really good ranch is buttermilk.
The place I was thinking of in Nashville is called McDougal's.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them. They're good.
They have a good honey gold sauce. All right, so burgers, you mentioned that. I mean, that's easy. You can get some
Yeah, I mean we
pre-made
do the.
patties. You can make your own patties, but that's quick and easy. People love a good burger.
Oh yeah, well we make that smoky bacon burger, and then we do that Wagyu eye of the round, so you can do like smash burgers.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that filet burger, which is a seasoned burger. So yeah, sky's limit. And we also started doing a duck burger, so it's got duck trim and Wagyu eye of the round. It's really really good. It's really rich.
All right. So for your burger, if you're making burgers, if you're at your house and let's say Lane Kiffin, Chris Beard, Mike Bianco, Coach Yo, Coach Malloy, let's say you got the who's who of Ole Miss athletics at your house for burgers. What are you doing? What are you seasoning, and what are you dressing that burger with?
I mean, I'm a big fan of our smoky bacon burger. I mean, I love bacon on your burger, but sometimes the bacon isn't crispy or the bacon's kind of chewy, and it just the bacon goes a long way on a burger. So what we do is we go ahead and smoke some bacon on the smoker for about an hour, and then I grind it up into the Wagyu. So we make that nice smoky, kind of like a chunky
Yeah.
smoky bacon burger. So, I mean, I'm hoping that they like the smoky bacon burger. And then I'll just do the plain Wagyu out of the round, which is a 90-10 blend. It's a very lean burger. It's got some good flavors, but I just like that smoky bacon because it's got that, the grease from the bacon and it gives you some flavor and everything like that. Salt and pepper is really your best friend on burger. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Montreal seasoning is pretty good on burgers, and it's got the garlic, the kosher salt, the cracked black pepper, and the onion salt. So that's always a good seasoning for burgers. I'm not a big fan of paprika on beef for some strange reason. I just don't like the barbecue rubs on the burger because it gives it kind of a red tint, and it gives, I don't know, just not a big paprika fan when it comes to beef, but you can do like a barbecue rub, kind of do like a barbecue burger. But man, I like to make a gravy. You can make a hamburger steak and gravy burger, literally a gravy burger. They pick it up out of the gravy, put it on there. So you just want to be versatile and you want to have a couple options because maybe people might not like bacon on their burger, so they go with the Wagyu out of the round burger. So I think the smoky bacon burger is my favorite. I think the Wagyu out of the round just straight up is a good one. And then, man, that duck burger is really good. It's real silky and real smooth. So that duck burger is a solid second between that Wagyu.
Are you looking at cutting your health insurance premiums by as much as 20 to 30%? Are you aging into Medicare and need help finding a Medicare supplement plan? Call Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group at 601-953-8449. Drew is an Ole Miss grad located in Mississippi and licensed in 7 states. He works with the nation's second largest health insurance brokerage with access to 35 different carriers, and he can help you with any of your health insurance needs. From regular health plans to life insurance to dental and vision and even Medicare, he has it all covered. Now more than ever, it is critical to have a health insurance agent who is local and accessible. So call Drew Moak at 601-953-8449 and get your free quote today.
The The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
This podcast is brought to you by Cherokee Valley Golf Course in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Get on over to see Cody Allen and the crew to take on the challenge of their wide, plush Zoysia fairways and large championship Bermuda greens. They have 2 putting greens to hone in your game with the flat stick, a driving range, and a chipping green to tighten up the short game. Book a tee time online at olivebranch.com or give them a call at 662-893-4444. That's Cherokee Valley Golf Course in Olive Branch, Mississippi. This podcast also comes to you thanks to Bluff City Advisory Group, Memphis's leading team of finance professionals who can provide advanced assistance with financial planning, pension, and qualified plan support, and business and estate planning strategies as well. Former Ole Miss Rebel and founding partner Ben Still, along with his elite-level customer service team, make it their goal to help you meet the ongoing demands of your financial needs. Learn about this and more at bluffcityadvisory.com. Back here with Greg Jones, Red and Blue Smoke here. Just wrapped up grill talk with Greg. Now we're going to jump into week 1. Thursday is when everything gets kicked off. The big one on Thursday, we're not going to do the whole slate. We're going to hit the big boys on this one, Greg. 7:00 ESPN, Florida at Utah. Revenge territory here for the Utes after losing on the road last year. It's talking about that game last year, it just takes me back to just how ridiculous everything was. Anthony Richardson basically just bailed out Florida, had the game of his life, and then Utah down in the red zone. Cam Rising throws a bad interception when they were in position to score and win that game. But now they're in Salt Lake City at Rice Eccles at night. It's going to be a zoo. They're going to be fired up trying to get some revenge there. The line is Utah is giving 4 here now, which is interesting because it was 6.5 yesterday. Is there potentially some rumblings about Cam Rising? Is he going to be available for this one? Honestly, I don't know if it matters. I think Utah is winning this football game. I don't think Florida is very good this year. Time zone, warp zone here. They got to travel over to Salt Lake City, and I think that Utah's had this one circled for a while. How do you see this one unfolding?
Yeah, I mean that's the big factor if Rising's going to be there. It's a totally different situation. Didn't we have a transfer from Utah come, and his first 2 weeks in Oxford, it was just miserable. He couldn't get used to the humidity and the temperature change and everything like that, and that's a big deal for athletes. And, you just can't, just waltz over to Salt Lake City and just be like, oh, I like this, so the elevation, climate and everything might be a factor. I like Utah here too. I really like them if Rising runs, but like you said, that Utah's had this circle for a hot minute, and, who knows? They might. I think they gave the game away last year, and it's a different story if they go on and win that game. With that being said, I like Utah with you.
Yeah, I think Kyle Whittingham is too good of a coach. They're going to be prepared. It's game 1 for Graham Mertz for the Gators. He showed maybe 1 or 2 flashes at Wisconsin and then was just bad. And then he transferred to Florida. They went and got him after the spring game, which, I mean, multiple SEC programs this year went out and got quarterbacks after spring games, which is not typically a good sign. Maybe he'll be fine down the stretch. I think Mertz has some talent, but I mean, he outside of one game during the COVID year at Wisconsin, he was just very, very underwhelming there. So I like Utah here, especially now that the line's down to 4. I like them to cover that one. All right. Moving over.
Definitely can see it being a field goal game for sure.
Yeah, I anticipate a lot of defense from Utah running the football. Whittingham loves that old school throwback, physical, really punish you. I think that it could be a tight one, and then I could see Utah kind of stretching it late and maybe getting a late score to cover there. Going over to Saturday, we're gonna skip over Friday. There's nothing that really tickles my fancy there. Saturday, we'll go out of the SEC here for just a moment. 11 a.m. on Fox. Colorado and Deion Sanders travel to Fort Worth to take on TCU, a team that got to the national championship game last year. Sure, they got blown out by Georgia, but Georgia was just otherworldly last year. I don't see this one going well for the Buffs at all. The line is 20.5, Greg. I'm very
that's a big number. Big number.
Big number. I'm not sure if it really matters here if TCU covers or not, because I think they're winning the game anyway. I just think Deion and Colorado are going to get a rude awakening to the Pac-12 and to playing in a Power 5 capacity here. I think Shedeur Sanders is a fine quarterback, but this isn't the SWAC. Like, this is going to be big boy football, and I like the Horned Frogs here. I just don't know. 20.5 is a big number.
I mean, if it was like 14.5 or 13.5,
I'd lay them.
I would definitely lay TCU. But I mean, you always have to factor in that garbage touchdown. I mean, say TCU gets up, 35-7. They're probably going to pump the brakes and put some reserves in and try to get some playing time for some people, because I mean, the depth chart, is a big deal now. You have to have, players that are willing to step up and, fill in positions if your starter goes down. So, I mean, I can see a garbage touchdown coming into play, but I like you were saying, it's this isn't the SWAC. And I know, Deion's a great talker, and he's a great character, and he's good for football, I think, but I just think he's going to get a rude wake, and I'm going to lay TCU here. Honestly.
Yeah, I lean that direction. I don't think people understand. Ole Miss fans are familiar with the portal and how Kiffin's utilized it and really, kind of made it his own and made it an advantage for Ole Miss to get good players that can play immediately. Colorado has 50+ transfers on this team. That's a ton of turnover, a lot of new faces. I'm very interested to see what happens. What's Deion going to do when things are not going his way immediately? What's his body language? What's his demeanor? How is he going to handle that? Because at Jackson State, he didn't have to worry about that because they dominated. So what's that going to be like on the road in a pretty raucous environment? It can get pretty rowdy over there at Amon Carter Stadium in Fort Worth. So I'm very interested to see how they respond to that early on. Also at 11 a.m. on Saturday, Virginia, Tennessee at Nissan Stadium here in Nashville, 11 o'clock, ABC. A lot of hype around the Vols. No Hendon Hooker anymore. It's now Joe Milton's team. I'll give my thoughts after you go. What's your take on the Vols this year after a banner year last year, winning 11 games?
Well, I mean, you just think that they would just, keep the ball rolling. I mean, didn't they get a big win in the bowl game against Clemson last year?
Yep. Milton played great in that one.
Momentum's a great thing to have, and especially when you have a big win in the Orange Bowl and moving forward. I mean, they beat Alabama last year, and that's a nice feather to have in your cap. First year with the first year coach, but I think Virginia's going to give them a tough game. I don't think they're going to just steamroll them, but I think Tennessee, just talent wise on both sides of the ball, they're just going to be a little bit bit better and faster, and I think they'll cover easy against Virginia.
I think so too. I think year 2 of Tony Elliott's still going to be rough for the Cavs up there in Charlottesville. I think Tennessee is going to be really good this year. I think they're just going to have too many athletes, and it's a virtual home game for Tennessee and Nashville, and I think Heupel is going to want to make a big statement in a game that they can easily win. All right, swinging back around to some big marquee games in week 1, 2:30 on ABC, Boise at Washington. Washington's kind of my dark horse. They may not even be a dark horse anymore for the college football playoff. I think they win the Pac-12 this year. I love what Kalen DeBoer's done there in short amount of time. And Michael Penix Jr. is just electric. 14 is the line here.
Didn't they lose their running back, though?
They did. He is out for the year. But DeBoer obviously doesn't want anyone to get hurt. Clearly, But he loves throwing the ball around the yard. Yeah, they're going to need somebody to step up and keep defenses honest and run the football. But Penix was just incredible last year, over 4,000 yards passing. I like them to throw it all over the yard. 14 is the line. I think Boise gives them a scare early, but I think the Huskies can run away with this one.
Yeah, I wish I could say, yeah. I mean, I do like the Penix. He's a good. I mean, he was one of the guys that I just would like to watch on the West Coast, just because. I mean, obviously the kid from USC is legit, but he's always going to be there. But man, I'm going to go with Boise here. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter game, and not having that run game, might hurt them a little bit, but we'll just see. I just think that's a lot of points for an opening game. I'm just going to roll with the underdog here.
Yeah. Okay. I don't hate it. Andy Avalos in his second year at the helm at Boise. It's gonna be a good game in Seattle. I know the crowd will be good. The Husky fans typically show out at home games, so that'll be a fun afternoon one to put on the big TV. All right, as we move down the slate here, we'll go into some bigger marquee games. North Carolina, South Carolina at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. This is the big
good game.
It is. I think this one's going to be fun. Video game shootout. North Carolina
going to take the over. I mean, what's the over? Like 65?
Yeah, 64.5 is the total.
Got lucky on that one.
North Carolina favored by 2.5. I like the Gamecocks. I think the Gamecocks are going to have a big year. I think Spencer Rattler takes a big jump in year 2 in that system. You could see last year they kind of let him go and kind of let him do his thing, especially in that Tennessee game when he had 6 touchdowns and they blew out the Vols. I think this one's going to be a fun one with Drake May at North Carolina, but what's he going to look like without some of his big targets? Is he going to be able to spread the football around without Josh Downs? I like the Gamecocks here in the upset, even though it's a 2.5 line. So, kind of a pick 'em on a neutral site. But, yeah, I like South Carolina here.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I mean, they got hot at the end of the year, and, didn't they beat Clemson also? Or did they
did.
Clemson? Yeah.
They did.
I was actually watching that replay, and you could definitely tell Spencer Rattler's got some pure talent. I mean, he threw a couple great balls. There was I think it was they were down 14-0, and it was 4th and goal from the 2, and that the pass he threw for the touchdown was just an absolute just dime. And so I like South Carolina a lot here, and I mean I almost would like to lock them up right here, honestly.
Yeah,
but I try to stay clear of the L word. The L word's dangerous.
I like them here in this spot too. I think they've got a ton of momentum. Just overall, that program everybody's buzzing up there in Columbia. They've got a ton of recruiting momentum. I like Shane Beamer there. I think he's doing a great job, and they've done well in the portal. They've recruited well. I think they're set for a big year. All right, going over to Sunday, the big one, LSU, Florida State, Camping World Stadium in Orlando. This is probably the one everybody's looking forward to all weekend, if we're being honest. I think LSU minus 2.5. So we got another neutral site game, 2.5 point line. Over under is 56. I like Florida State here. Brian Kelly has a history of losing some head scratchers. He lost a weird one. They laid an absolute egg against A&M last year. I just think Mike Norvell and them earn it here. I think Jordan Travis is going to be a ton of fun. They pick up Keon Coleman out of the portal. They went toe-to-toe with Ole Miss for that one. He is probably one of the best wide receivers in the country coming into this season. I think they've got weapons all over the place. They've got Trey Benson at running back, a Mississippi guy, and Jared Verse leading that defense. Him coming back was huge, and I still can't figure out. I mean, I know how they got him to come back. It's an NIL package, but I mean, people thought he was a top 15 pick in the NFL draft last year, and he came back, so he's leading that defense. It took him a minute, but I think Norvell's finally got Florida State rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on this too. I mean, I'm not a Brian Kelly fan. He just kind of makes me scratch my head and figure out like who is he really? I mean, is he the guy that has the Louisiana, however he said? How did he say Louisiana? Anyway,
family.
It just gives me a bad taste in my mouth. And I know Captain Fitz is not going to like this that I'm taking Florida State. Hopefully the Duck Poppers brings LSU good luck. But with that being said, I got to go with Florida State. For some strange reason, they play good at the Camping World kickoff classic, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that for sure.
I could definitely see the number going under here because I definitely think LSU is going to try to play a little bully ball here and try to be, out physical Florida State. We saw LSU do that down the stretch last year when they won the West. They did it against Ole Miss. They just got physical and ran the football. And then outside of that egg they laid against A&M, they were pretty dominant until they got to the SEC championship against Georgia. But yeah, Jaden Daniels in year 2 there. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I don't think this is going to be a shootout quite like North Carolina, South Carolina, but 2 good quarterbacks and 2 top 10 teams. It's going to be a fun one in Orlando.
That would be a really good SEC matchup if they could ever pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Florida State is on the board for the SEC in terms of who they're eyeballing in the ACC. I've always heard it's North Carolina and Virginia are the 2 that they want. And I think the ACC is going to do whatever it can to hold on to Florida State and Clemson because those are basically their 2 breadwinners there.
Do you think why not the SEC go after Oregon? And I mean that would be perfect for a couple road games. Like
I would love that. I would
I'm still trying to figure out this whole.
Dude, you're telling me. I hate that once I finally got fully vested into covering recruiting that they quit doing the opening in Eugene. Because that was always like, I'm going to go cover the opening, go get a tour of the Nike facility, go see campus, get some free swag from Nike, say what's up to Phil. But no, they don't do it there anymore. But yeah, I mean, that would be awesome to do a home and home with Oregon.
I mean, this is just me off the record, but just, kind of on a rant. I really wish they would kind of trim up the football schedule. I mean, like granted, I mean, Ole Miss and Mercer is a decent game to open up the season, but kind of get rid of 2 cupcakes and add a home and home with out of conference, to where, because imagine, I mean, I don't know if a lot of Oregon fans would come to Oxford, but I mean, I know a lot of, I've got a couple friends that went to Texas Tech and they were like, oh man, we'd love to come to Oxford, and I mean, I don't know if I'd want to go to Lubbock. I mean, but if I have a free place to stay, I'll go to Lubbock. But
yeah,
I just feel like it's a little bit more exciting, the opening game being somebody like Texas Tech or Oregon or somebody like Oklahoma State or Kansas State or just something that brings a little bit more table than Mercer. And it's tough, but I really wish that the schedule makers would be like, hey, instead of these extra games to give them rest and, because they've got, let's schedule, who do we have? That's kind of a Monroe. I mean, nothing against Monroe, but why are we having to pay Monroe when we can pay somebody else to come to Oxford and it'd be a little bit more competitive game? And it brings a little bit more, outside fans to Oxford because every person I've talked to, like, that if they haven't come to Oxford, it's in their plans to come to Oxford. So
Sure.
just kind of a downer that our first game is Mercer, but nothing against Mercer. Just, it is what it is in the college football scheme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you've got a little nostalgia this year with Tulane and Georgia Tech on the schedule, two former charter members of the SEC. If we're being honest, though, like, I don't think they move the needle very much. And I'm with you. Like, have some big time non-conference games and get rid of the cupcakes. I know it's good for those programs. They get the check. It helps them with facilities. And, I'm sure Mercer's trying to come up with some NIL. I said that on the podcast the other day. I said, hey, Mercer might just take this check from Ole Miss and just throw it right into their NIL, bank and try to, get some guys to come to Mercer. I don't know. But I mean, do some, play a non-conference game against Iowa. I mean, that would be awesome. Do a home and home with Iowa. Go up to Kinnick Stadium.
I would love to do that. Or Illinois, or just somebody that you normally don't play, and that would probably bring a little bit more. I mean, you look at the Florida State LSU game. Like, LSU's been prepping for Florida State since the season ended. So, and we've been prepping for Mercer, but are we really prepping for Mercer?
Yeah, they're prepping
for Tulane the next week.
They're prepping for Tulane.
Correct. And it's just, it's just, you have to play a game, and hopefully nobody gets hurt, and you go through the motions and you win, 48-0, and you're prepped ready for the Tulane game. But just, it's kind of a bummer as a fan perspective, because, it's hard for Ole Miss fans to come every weekend, and there's a lot of people that probably looked at the schedule, even though it's the first game of the year, I'm like, do we really want to go see Mercer, or do we want to save our money and go for the Georgia Tech game? So, just is what it is. But it's just tough on the fans sometimes.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I would love for them to have more marquee Power 5 non-conference games. And I think everybody would. And I do think we're probably slowly getting to that point. I don't know if we're going to have super conferences yet. I don't know if it'll ever get to that point. I tend to think that the fabric of college football and conferences and all of that being so important that it will never get to that. But I do think you're going to see coaches want to push more and more for bigger non-conference games, because with the playoff expanding, you want a better strength of schedule. You want to be able to point to those games like, hey, we went up to Iowa City and we got a win on the road. Like, you want to be able to point to that instead of
win. That's a different style of ball game they play, and I mean, that's not an easy win. So I just, it is what it is. I just think the bigger picture would be nice for the fans to, not have to worry about watching going to Oxford and watching Ole Miss play Mercer. They can watch. I mean, I think the Florida Utah, the home and home, I think that's great. I think you would I never thought that Florida and Utah would probably play, but here they are in their second game in the second year. So, and honestly, I think if you're an LSU fan, you're like, why not pick up Florida State? We're on prime time on a Sunday, and it's good for the the sport, and good for recruiting and everything in general. So I don't know. I just think that those primetime matchups would look better on your schedule.
Speaking of looking better on your grill this weekend, you got plenty of coaching, plenty of tips and tricks and ideas for this weekend, as Greg has given you tons and tons and tons of stuff to do this weekend as you grill out for Labor Day, watching college football week 1. It's going to be fun. We'll be back next weekend next week for another episode of Red and Blue Smoke. We'll be preparing for Tulane.
I was going to give you another little update about LBs. We're starting lunches back on Thursday and Friday. So
yes,
we are officially back in the saddle doing food on Thursdays and Fridays. So this Thursday we'll probably do a pulled pork sandwich, maybe a barbecue pork chop, Philly cheesesteak. I know that was always a real popular sandwich with the kids, and we might bring back the chicken bacon ranch. So we're just going to kind of tinker with it a little bit, but we are bringing the food back on Thursdays and Fridays.
Hell yes, that sounds phenomenal. I will be sure to come by and grab some when I'm in town. this year for football.
Maybe some ribs and spaghetti on Sunday. On Friday. So we might do some ribs and spaghetti on Friday, but we're just going to tinker with it and do some tweaks here and there and see if we can't get it dialed up. And but yeah, we're going to start doing the lunch on Thursdays and Fridays again.
Look, that's what you do. You go see Greg, you get you a plate lunch. After you eat that, you take you a good nap, and then you're ready for the weekend. It's perfect.
I can't say it any better than that. That's for sure.
All right, that's Greg Jones of LB's Meat Market. Go see him, 2008 University Avenue, across from Kroger. He'll pick you up some protein for the weekend, as week 1 is finally here. So that is going to do it for Red and Blue Smoke. Thanks to Greg, as always, and the folks at LB's. And thank you to all the other sponsors that make the show possible. And stay locked in, omspirit.com. We'll have plenty of stuff leading up to this weekend's home opener, season opener. And we will have more podcasts for you as well. Hit that line. We'll be recording tonight. We will be ready. We'll be prepped for Thursday games. We'll have our picks in for you tonight, and you'll be listening to that on Thursday. So for Greg over there, I'm Zach. Until next week, we out of here.